Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. I'm Justin. I'm here with Joe, and today we're going to talk a bit about one of the many rather good games that came out in 2025, late 2025. But before we get to that, let's find out what's new. Joe, what's been going on?
Not a whole lot since last time I was on the podcast. One thing I did want to mention is that Alexis, my wife, and I just last night went to see the classic motion picture Labyrinth in a movie theater.
Ooh.
Apparently, this is the 40th anniversary of that film's release.
Ugh.
So, Fathom Events did like a special theatrical re-release. Um, I mean, it's a movie that I've always loved, yeah, as many people of our generation do. I kind of grew up with it. I
Mhm.
didn't actually realize until when I bought the tickets, I didn't know this. I didn't realize it until yesterday, but yesterday was also the 10th anniversary of David Bowie passing, so kind of an
Oh.
appropriate time to see that movie. Um, it is weirder. I mean, it's a weird movie. It's kind of like funnier than I remembered it being. I feel like there's a lot of I told Alexis, I always forget that it was written by Terry Jones, who is a member of Monty Python.
Oh.
And like looking at it now, that makes a lot of sense with a lot of the, humor throughout. So, even though it's a movie I've seen probably dozens of times, I feel like I appreciate it in different ways upon every viewing.
Hmm.
David Bowie's package was indeed impressive on the big screen. I know you were all wondering. Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, that's really the big thing I've been up to, aside from things I've mentioned before, like continuing to suffer through Silk Song. Um,
Uh,
what about you?
well, I've been shoveling snow and shoveling snow and covering for everybody at work who's calling in sick and then shoveling snow.
Oh
And
man.
I've also been suffering through more of Silk Song, which is not the most painful thing that I've been through since the last time I've been on
How
the
far
pod.
are you in Silk Song now?
I think I'm close to the end of Act One. At least it feels like I should be t close to the end of Act One. Like I am in I think the Blasted Steps is what it's called, or the
Okay,
Wasted
yeah.
Steps. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Um,
are very close then.
okay. Yeah, I've gone back and made sure I've done as many of the side quests as I can, because just in case they get like walled off after the end of the act. But it feels good to be getting back to that game. It's a lot of
Nice.
fun. But yeah, yeah. We recently just had, I think, our third snowpocalypse
Wow.
since December. I mean, since Thanksgiving, actually. So yeah, it's my back is not happy with me, but here we are. But that's kind of it for me. So let's get on to the topic of the
Let's
day.
do
So
it.
we are here to talk a bit about Dispatch, a game made by some of the former developers who worked at Telltale Games. And if you're not familiar with them, Telltale made things like Tales from the Borderlands, The Wolf Among Us, the Walking Dead games, some of them, and are usually best known for their emotional narratives, and not necessarily so much their gameplay, but the stories that they weave are usually memorable. Um, so this, I do believe, is the first game that was put out by former members of Telltale after that kind of fell apart. And it is, for a basic overview, if you're not familiar with the game, Dispatch is, it's basically like a superhero version of The Office. At least that's what it was sort of pitched as when I first saw the trailer, where you play as sort of an Iron Man-esque character, who, after a big confrontation with your arch nemesis, your suit gets wrecked. And unlike Iron Man, unlike Tony Stark, you aren't rich. So you can't just build another one and get back in the fight.
Well, he was rich, but he
He
spent all of his
was
money trying to maintain the suit and his hero
true.
status.
That's true. That is a fair point. But with his inheritance having run out and now finding himself rudderless, your character, whose name is Robert Robertson the Third, by the way, very comic booky there, and I love it. But yeah, he gets recruited into this organization called SDN, which is sort of a superhero
Dispatch Network.
dispatch network. Yeah, as the name as the initials would have superhero and supervillain as it turns out. But we'll get there. So basically, the idea is okay. Sure, you can't get out there and punch things in your mechanical suit anymore, but you still have like the brain of a hero. You still have like that tactical planning. You still have something to offer. So the story from that point onward is you trying to find a new purpose in life, possibly get your suit back, and maybe bond with this band of misfits that you're suddenly in charge of trying to wrangle and use to the best of their abilities. Um, anything else you'd like to chime in on the basic setup for this, or?
No, I think that pretty much nails it.
Okay, so I'm not sure how you first found out about this game, but I saw a trailer during like I don't know if it was the Game Awards or Future Game Fest, or it was something that rose up in the place of E3 a few years ago, and just something about it really like the art style, the premise, just really kind of struck me when I first saw it. What was your first exposure to this?
So I don't remember exactly which one was the first, but weirdly, I feel like I don't really keep up with video game news nearly as much as I feel like you do.
Hmm.
But there is a weekly video game podcast I listen to every week, weirdly, even though I feel like I'm always out of touch with the world of gaming. So shout out to the DLC podcast. Definitely heard them talk about it on that show. I also follow Alana Pierce, who does the voice of Malevola, one of the characters in this game, who we may or may not be talking about at great length later. But I mean, she posted about it on all her socials as well. She
Nice.
was like a video game journalist and then was briefly actually a video game writer at Sony Santa Monica Studios. And now she mostly, I think, does like um, just kind of like influency, like talking about games and stuff. But
Hmm.
somewhere between following her and listening to the DLC podcast, I just kind of heard people talking about this game and it sounded like it was pretty cool. So checked
Nice.
out the trailers and it looked pretty interesting.
Cool. So I mentioned in the lead-in that this was put together as the first game from a studio made up largely of former Telltale employees. Had you played any of their previous games back when Telltale was still a thing? And if so, what did you
I
think?
Yeah, I played a couple, and it's something where I always kind of meant to play more of their games, but just never really did. But I played their Sam and Max games.
Hmm.
I I mean, Sam and Max goes back to like the old school LucasArts point and click adventures, but then there was like a, Telltale series based on that. So I think that's what kind of first introduced me to them because I was a point and click adventure fan back in the day. And then I did play the first season of their Walking Dead series, which I feel like that's really what kind of put them on the map. And I
Yeah.
really liked it, but for whatever reason, I just never played any of the subsequent seasons or any of their other games. Like I've heard The Wolf Among Us was great, and I've wanted to play that, but just never did.
Hmm. Yeah, I've never gotten around to playing The Wolf Among Us either. But I did play at least the first three Walking Dead games they did, and the quality tapers off a little bit towards the third one, but it's still a pretty good series. I did also play at least the first season of they did a Batman
Mm,
series in that vein, and
yeah,
very different take on like a lot of the characters in the world, but it was still engaging. It still felt like oh crap, my this is these are characters I kind of remember, kind of recognize, but kind of don't. But I still
yeah,
feel invested, and I still feel like people could be in very bad situations if I don't choose right in this situation.
that's
Um,
cool. I did kind of
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like at a certain point, I don't know if I want to say they jumped the shark, but I feel like there was a period of time where it seemed like every property was getting a Telltale game. Like they made like
Yeah.
a Back to the Future one and a Jurassic Park one. And
Oh man.
yeah, like it felt like at a certain point they were just kind of like cranking out games based on IP,
Mm,
um, which I mean, I don't know if that played any part in their downfall, but
It might have. Let's be clear. A lot of these games do have a very similar feel, at least in terms of like how they're presented. So I could see people getting burnt out on that sort of thing after a while. It's just like a palette swap. It's okay. I did this with the Walking Dead crew. Now I'm doing it with like the Jurassic Park crew, and I could see them starting to feel kind of samey after a while, maybe.
yeah.
Strength of the writing aside.
Apparently,
Um,
there's also a couple CSI games in there.
Seriously? Holy
Yeah,
crap.
I'm looking at
Okay.
their Wikipedia. So yeah, I mean, maybe they lost a little luster as time went on.
Yeah, and I imagine some of those licenses couldn't have been cheap.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah. But speaking of like things overstaying their welcome or like losing their luster, the Dispatch came out in a time where a lot of people still are kind of talking about superhero fatigue. Especially with things like, too many superhero movies coming out, or they just they don't hold the appeal that they used to back in like the days of Endgame and Infinity War and all that. So what do you think of their decision to actually decide to jump in with a superhero property with no established characters, no established narrative, no history, no nothing, and just to see where the chips fell? It, I think it was pretty bold and, maybe potentially ill-advised, but what do you think?
I agree it was bold. I mean, I've spoken many times on this podcast about specifically suffering from Marvel fatigue,
Yeah.
if not, superhero fatigue in general. And I think my thing, even with Marvel, is for me, I don't think I'm so much tired of like superheroes as like a type of story to tell or like, like a genre. I think it's more just the Marvel stuff has all been feeling kind of samey and like you know, I have enjoyed some like I know it wasn't universally loved, but I really liked the She-Hulk series.
Hmm.
And I have enjoyed some Marvel things when they have done something different and kind of outside the box with it. And
Okay.
that so when this game was announced, like and especially I mean, as you said, it was kind of pitched as The Office, but with superheroes. I mean, I thought that was an intriguing idea. Like, even though I feel like superheroes, in general have maybe been overdone, I am still open to people trying to do something unique or different, in a
Mhm.
world that has superheroes in it. So, I mean, honestly, that alone was like I was never thrown off by it, especially when I saw the trailers and could see that there's a lot of humor there. And um, I mean, I do appreciate that they took an original route. I mean, I don't know if I should say most of, but several of the characters in this game, and I know we'll talk about characters a little bit later,
Mhm.
are clear homages or like clearly inspired by existing superheroes. So it's not like they, necessarily created all of these archetypes out of whole cloth, but I like the fact that they did go in a, original direction, creating their own IP, if only because it gives them the freedom to like do whatever the heck they want with these characters.
Okay.
Um, so I feel like I'm rambling, but
No, no. I mean, you made some good points, and actually, during parts of my playthrough of Dispatch, the She-Hulk series kind of came to mind for me too, because that was taking, larger than life characters and putting them in for what amounts to a very down-to-earth sort of setting as well. And yeah, that approach I think is part of what drew me in so much, along with the humor, like you mentioned. I chuckled multiple times during the initial like
yeah, me
reveal
too.
trailer of this thing. And so yeah, it's I'm hoping that our experiences with this are indicative of like the wider audience out there, just for media in general, because I think there are a lot of interesting things you can do with superheroes. It's just you have to think a bit outside the box these days.
Yeah.
And I really do hope that you and I are kind of representative of the fact that there's there is still enjoyment to be found out of stories involving people who can fly and like throw cars and that sort of thing. Um, so um, okay, so we got like the basic groundwork for this thing set. What did you think about the actual presentation of it? Be it the performances from the voice actors or just the overall look of it, the framework of the story. Did you think it was presented well beyond the initial concept?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I really liked. I mean, I love the visual style. The animation was great. I thought pretty much all of the performances were fantastic. I know we're going to talk about some favorite and least favorite characters shortly, but
Mhm.
I mean, regardless of even if there were some characters I didn't really love, I still think, all the voice actors did a good job.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, as far as presentation goes, I thought they pretty much nailed it. It feels like a comic book come to life in terms of the visuals and everything. What were your thoughts on the whole thing?
Um, yeah, speaking of the visuals, we should mention this is if you haven't like looked up a trailer or seen footage from this or anything, they are all 3D modeled, but it is very effective cell shading on all of these characters. So they do look like most of the time they just stepped right off of a comics page. So yeah, visually, I think they did a bang up job on this. And they do well. There's a consistency between like the character designs. I mean, sure, you've got a guy with the head of a bat, and there's like a woman with demon horns, and then there's a Superman equivalent, and a whole different variety of types of characters, but they do all look like they belong to the same universe. And yeah, I think they did a good job making it feel like this is a world that they established and put together sensibly. Um, I do agree the performances were very good overall. Characters I liked, characters I hated. They all portrayed. They played their roles well, and a lot of them ended up growing on me more than I expected, largely hinging on the quality of the voice actors behind them. So,
Yeah, I agree.
and on that note, I should mention this was a collaboration with Critical Role as well, which I didn't realize going in. So, if you like that style of humor, that style of storytelling and presentation, you're probably going to like the performances in Dispatch, just because there are definite parallels between this and the traditional Critical Role stuff you get. Um, but yeah, overall, I think, especially for a first game from a studio, this was really well presented. Um, and yeah, on that note, let's talk about a bit of the characters in this world. There's a fair number of them. It's not overwhelming, but there's a good number in the core group, and there's some that show up periodically in the background. I don't know if we want to necessarily go through each one, but what were some standouts, either good or bad, for you?
I mean, so I'm gonna start with a shout out to my boy Chase, who is voiced by Jeffrey Wright, who I think Jeffrey Wright is one of my favorite actors, like of the past decade plus. He is just fantastic at everything, and he's amazing in this game. I thought, I mean, the character itself is interesting. He's like a speedster character, but um, and I think they say he's like 10 years older than Robert, the main character.
Mhm.
So he was kind of like an older brother figure for him and like babysitter for him when he was growing up. But at the time the main game takes place, he basically finds out too late that every time he uses his speedster power, he not only moves faster than everyone, but also ages faster. So when Robert, re-encounters him, I think they say it's been like 15 years or something, or some
Something like
period of
that.
time since they've seen each other. He is 39 years old, I think he says at one point.
Yeah, I think he says something like I'm not even 40 yet or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
So he's like probably like late 30s, but he looks like he's like a 70 or like 80-year-old man. Like they at one
Yeah.
point, Robert at one point is like, "Why do you look like Black Albert Einstein?" And that's, that is basically what the character model looks like is, like a black version of Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
So it's this interesting kind of tension of he looks like an old man and in some ways acts like a crotchety old man, but still has the mind of like a younger man.
Mhm.
Like there's, sex jokes and stuff like that. And I think Jeffrey Wright just does a fantastic job with the voice work there.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we can do a bit of back and forth here.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm gonna save the one that I think we are both rather fond of for later, or if you want to introduce them, after you can. But a character that grew on me more than I expected was actually Flambe. The guy who starts off is like just a complete and utter asshole, and he is one of the villains that you're in charge of trying to help rehabilitate and assign to do tasks that would, turn them into heroes, hopefully. But yeah, he's just kind of a smarmy, just uh,
Am I
overly
the only one who
aggressive.
couldn't stop thinking of Razor Ramon every time he showed up?
Kind of, yes. But yeah, I honestly, on that note, I am slightly dismayed at how easily I could probably cosplay this guy. But yeah, he has fire powers. He can fly. He's very much a hothead in terms of personality as well. But over time, he like there's little moments that just made me kind of smile, and like the song that he does at one point. Assuming that happened in your playthrough.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. You'll for those of you listening, you'll know it when you hear it. It's ridiculous, but it was fun. And like little things like that just kept kind of building and building, and to the point where I didn't hate him at the end, and I actually kind of liked him despite all his flaws. So,
Yeah, I agree. Also wanted to give a shout out to Sonar,
ah,
who is this weird, he's like super intelligent Ivy League half Batman who is also addicted to all manner of things and is a pervert. At one point, at one point, he has to sound an alarm at the beginning of the day because one of the other characters, Coupe, has locked him to a weight set in the gym because he thought she was trying to seduce him. Like she promised me boobs. I just
yes.
I just found his character kind of entertaining throughout. So
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to give him a quick shout out.
Interestingly, he was one of my least favorite.
Really?
I part of it was there was a stretch. I think it was like in chapter three,
Yeah.
where that's the a chapter where you have to make a pretty sizable decision. I don't know if it was just luck of the draw or what, but he failed like three missions that I sent him
Mm,
on, and he had displayed his incompetence leading up to that and
yeah,
whatnot. So by that point, I was kind of done with him.
that's her.
Plus he kind of seemed uh, like a crypto bro almost,
Yeah, he
and
definitely is that.
so, but yeah, he was like one of my least favorites
Yeah,
personally.
that's fair. I will say, so I am actually on episode 5 of a second playthrough,
Ooh,
and I will
okay,
say so I mean, we're full of spoilers already anyway, as we
yeah,
always are on this podcast, but
yeah, yeah.
um is it episode 2 or 3 where you have to pick between cutting him or Coupe?
I think it's three.
That sounds right. But the
Yeah.
first time I played through, I cut Coupe.
Mm.
Um, but the second time, I've been kind of, I don't know, I'm not purposely trying to make all different decisions, but for
Mhm.
some reason on the second playthrough, cutting Sonar felt more correct just because he feels like a liability. Like being, an addict and like kind of the bro vibe, like it felt like, Coupe could be more of an asset to the team. So even though I did kind of enjoy his character, I do understand why you would not love him.
Fair. There is later on when we're talking about other like pros and cons, there's going to be something I'll bring up that might be a spoiler if you say since you haven't gotten to the end of the branch of your playthrough where you cut him. But
Okay.
it's so yeah, just I want you to be warned for that. It's
That's
a
fair.
kind of a small thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, any other notables on your end? Because I've got one or two more I could bring up on mine.
What else did I put Punch Up.
Yes.
Um, he is hilarious, and like honestly, I am glad on my second playthrough that I kept Coupe because they have, an ongoing relationship dynamic that's pretty fun.
Yes.
So I've been enjoying sending them together on missions when possible. But yeah, he's just hilarious. I love the idea that he's, twice as strong as a normal man, but half as tall.
Yes.
Um,
And he has one move, and he
he
does
has
it well.
he does it well. I mean, one of my favorite jokes in the game is at his expense, where one of the characters basically is calling him out on, the fact that he looks like a hipster, and they say he looks like Mumford fucked all his sons.
Yes.
There are some great jokes in this game.
There are. There really are. Oh, yeah, Nicki Mirage as like
Yeah, yeah.
a insult to one of the characters that yeah. Let's see. I kind of liked Gollum, just because at first he seemed like he was just going to be kind of a completely unrelatable, almost literally alien sort of character.
Yeah.
But he had some moments of humanity that worked in here and there. Like, he likes poetry and he has like favorite song, mixtapes and whatnot. And it's like, okay, he's deeper than I expected. So I kind of liked him. I wish we
And
got
he
more of
can
him.
become a mom to a baby kaiju.
But yeah. I didn't catch the kaiju. It got away.
Oh, yeah. If you send him
Interesting.
on that mission, you can, it's like a character specific option, I think. You
Okay.
can try to adopt the kaiju and he becomes a mom to the baby kaiju.
Oh, that's fantastic. Um, well, that feels like it should be a good lead into the gameplay. I do want to say that I wasn't terribly fond of the main villain in this, for reasons that we can talk a bit about later. Because I do want to talk a bit about the gameplay, unless you had anything else you wanted to say on
I
this.
mean, Malevola,
Oh, of course, duh. Yeah,
duh, the best character in the game.
the hot demonic elephant in the room. Yes. Uh,
Yes.
Yeah, it's sadly not one of the ones that is romanceable in the storyline, because if they had made like all of the characters romanceable, it would have been there's already a lot of writing and like voice
Yeah.
acting that went into this. It would have just exploded exponentially.
I feel like it's one of those things where I mean, they should have known their audience and, people on the internet in general, but I wonder if it just never even occurred to them that that would be a thing that the people would want.
It's possible.
But, she is a 6 foot, 6.6 inch super hot demon lady from another dimension. Um,
With like a blazing sword that can cut through space and time. I
yeah,
mean, how could you
she
not
can
like that?
like create portals to just kind of like fast travel places. She's like hilarious. She has an Australian accent, which is the hottest of all accents, I will say.
Fair
But I
enough.
mean, honestly, aside from the, wanting her to step on me side of things, um, I like her character because yes, she is a giant, strong demon lady with a massive sword, but she also just seems like she'd be like fun to hang out with. Like
Yeah.
she's like super chill and cracks jokes and like I really enjoyed the character overall.
I sent her to save a kitten once because she refused to go on another mission that I tried sending her on because she was mad that I cut Sonar from the team. So and her reaction to actually saving the kitten was like, okay, she does have a soft side.
Yeah.
So yeah, little things like that do kind of creep their way into the narrative and the gameplay. And speaking of that, so a lot of the game is narrative based, like I mentioned, where you're doing dialogue choices to try to influence events, or like people's opinions towards you. The traditional telltale, everyone will remember that is still a thing. So if you have fond memories of that, it's back. Um, but yeah, there is also there's several other sides to it. There are occasional like action sequences where there will be nice, where there will be quick time events on the screen that you have to react to in order to like get through a sequence. I'm not sure how many of those you can fail or if there is a failure state for them, though. could be something to explore on another playthrough. There's like a hacking mini game, but the bulk of the actual gameplay is largely you are sitting in your desk at SDN and you're dispatching this team of misfits to try to, put out a fire at a warehouse or like save an old lady who's fallen into a ravine or break up a gang war that's going on the the in the docks district of town or whatever. And being that most of these people can't be in multiple places at once, you have to kind of prioritize and figure out like who to send where and who to team up with who. Sometimes they might try to double cross each other, like in chapter three,
Yeah.
which was I think my favorite chapter in terms of that. Um, but yeah, so I know we've talked a bit about this in the chat, but what are your thoughts on like the actual interactive parts of this?
So I think it's complicated for a few reasons. I
Mm,
will say that on my first playthrough, in general, I did not always do very well at the titular dispatching. I will say in my second playthrough, I'm enjoying that a lot more, and I think it's because I actually have a better sense of these characters and just like how all of that works.
mm,
Um, but I do like the actual gameplay of the dispatch segments. I think it is fun to try to like think on your toes and figure out, who's the best hero or heroes for each situation and kind of, strategy comes into it, especially with like, as you get into it, you start being able to level heroes up and you can choose like which, skills you want to level up for each hero. And there's a certain amount of it not being a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket. Like my first playthrough, I basically tried to like max out one specific stat for each hero.
mm.
And that's great if you only have, one call coming in at a time that seems like it requires a specific skill, but that almost never happens in this game. So you have to try to make people a little more well-rounded.
Mm.
So anyway, I do actually really like the dispatch portion of it now that I, am kind of on my second playthrough and have a better handle on it. That being said, um, I think my biggest concern is that I don't feel like any of the gameplay actually matters.
Mm.
I could be wrong, but I don't know if like doing poorly in the dispatch sequences really has much of an effect on the like overall storyline.
Mm.
Um, and what I really kind of have a concern with are the QuickTime sequences. Um, so my first playthrough, I had the QuickTime events enabled. My second playthrough, I actually disabled it.
Oh.
I honestly don't know which I prefer, but I think you mentioned this when you were introducing this segment. Like, I don't know if failing the QuickTime segments really changes the outcome of anything.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't feel very consequential. And if it is not consequential, what is the point other than to try to make you feel like you're more engaged during, these cutscenes, basically? Um, so it just doesn't feel like there's enough weight to those like that gameplay for me. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the solution is. Like honestly, the like when I had the QuickTime events enabled,
Mm.
that felt really tedious to me because it doesn't feel like you're really doing anything. It kind of feels like these things just pop up to like make sure you're not nodding off or something. I don't know. Um, but then having them disabled on my second playthrough, I find myself kind of just like wanting to get to the next dispatch like
Mm.
segment. Um, so yeah, it is complicated. Like I said, it's not that I have not enjoyed the gameplay, but I just don't know how much it actually affects anything.
Yeah. I'm kind of in I mean, with regards to the uncertainty about how much anything you do matters, I am in the same boat. I know like the dispatches, like how well you do on them or poorly you do on them. There's like you have a job rating, and depending on how high or low that is, you'll unlock certain things you can utilize to like like you'll have an extra pot of coffee that you can use to immediately
Yeah.
get someone back in the action. Other than that, I don't know what else it influences. But the part that really makes me scratch my head on this and worry a little is there's a sequence like later in the game where one of the characters, Invisigal, who, surprise, surprise, can turn invisible, is breaking in somewhere and you're trying to help her steal something from a safe. And that goes to the hacking mini game, and that was like the only ha instance of the hacking mini game I failed, and yet somehow the safe still opened. And the
Yeah.
game never
Yep.
told me how, who did it, why. It's just like it opens and she's like, "Oh, thanks, you did it." And I'm like, and your guy's like, I didn't actually do anything." And she's like, "Well, someone did. It's open now," and then just
Yeah.
like hand wave it away. And I'm that would have been like a perfect instance to have, not necessarily a game over state, but at least some change to the story where she doesn't get what's in the safe, and all of a sudden she's backed into a corner or whatever. It's just something that's not just, oh, it happens anyway.
Yeah.
And that has been a common criticism of Telltale games, throughout the years, that there are times it feels like the illusion of choice. And yeah, there are times I can agree with that, like with that one. But other times, at least in the earlier games, you make the wrong decision, someone dies, or
Yeah, I was
you
gonna
have,
say, like,
yeah.
it's been a while since I played like The Walking Dead, but I remember that, feeling
Hmm.
much more like choices mattered and like
Yeah.
had an actual outcome on, the overall story.
Yeah, like also similarly, like we're branching a little away from gameplay here, but in terms of like just the railroading of the story, so one of the characters we haven't mentioned yet is Blonde Blazer. She's kind of your boss. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's your boss, who recruits you into SDN, and she is one of the romanceable characters. She's also, when you meet her at least, dating a guy called Phenomena Man, who is the Superman equivalent of this world, and I think they always break up. And heading into that, I was going down the route of, pursuing Blonde Blazer as a, the romanceable love interest, because it's her and one other character. But so I was leaning towards her. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But then there's a part where you're like trying to comfort Phenomena Man, who's like, oh, just going on like a drunken bender, who's, he's like, what did I do wrong? My life is over. I don't understand how you humans work. And
Yeah.
like during that conversation, he's like, do you think there's someone else? And I thought, especially because I was going down that romance route, eventually he was going to find out, and I was going to have to somehow survive against this all-powerful, like super metahuman being, because he was going to be angry, and he was going to be, think I was betraying him or something like that. That doesn't happen. Um,
Yeah, that
and
whole thing just kind of goes away.
yeah, I mean, he's still kind of a mess and,
Yeah.
depressed and, just a sad sack. But I really was expecting more from that, and suffice it to say, there were missed opportunities, and yeah, it would have required a lot more work from everyone involved in this, the animation team, the voice actors, just the writers, everything. But it would have felt more rounded. And don't get me wrong, what we get, I think, is still pretty solid.
Yeah.
And but I don't know. It's just there are things that kind of make me scratch my head a bit and wish that there was more. Um, But overall, I do feel like the dispatching itself was fun. Going back to the actual topic we were talking about, it did at times feel a bit like one of those old Flash games from the early 2000s where you're trying to like manage time in a restaurant or something before all the customers get angry and like
Yeah.
close you down or whatever. But the writing during it, like the banter between your teammates and the things that go on while they're at their jobs, that kept it fresh, that kept it interesting, and it's not terribly complex, but it is fun. Um, but I think, unless you have more to say on gameplay, we're kind of segueing into other pros and cons at this point. So anything you want to toss in there as something that stood out to you is good or bad? Just did your time with it?
No, I think I mean, as far as gameplay goes, I think we pretty much covered everything. As far as
Okay.
other pros or cons,
Hmm.
so I actually had this written down. We didn't really talk specifically about like least favorite characters.
Oh, yeah.
But I do almost feel like there were too many characters in the game. And I mean, part of that is necessary because there are at least like one or two points where you have to either cut or not cut certain characters.
Hmm.
But like I put Coupe down as one of my least favorite characters because I don't feel, at least like from what I have played, you just don't really get a sense of who she is. And like kind of felt the same way about like Golem. Like I
Mm.
thought Golem was an interesting idea for a character, but in both of those cases, I don't really think like you get like enough of their personality comes through for you to really like understand who they are. And I mean, I think
Okay.
that is because there are so many characters in the game that they can't all have, an equal amount of like dialogue or screen time or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say that's kind of a con to me is I didn't feel like the characters that I, enjoyed all got enough time, and
Hmm.
there were characters that really didn't get enough time, and I had a hard time really like empathizing with or caring about them.
Fair. Um, and then there are characters who, at least in some ways, I think we could argue probably got too much time. And this
Like
feels like
Invisigal, I mean,
thank you.
what?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate her, but holy crap, do they really, really try to railroad you into picking her
Yeah,
as the love interest? I mean, the start of was it chapter four, where she's having
I
the
think
dream.
it's for the with the sex dream. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like bam, front and center, and full frontal and center actually.
Listen, I mean, I am not going to complain about there being like nudity and sex stuff in video games because I mean, we're all adults and I wish, developers didn't shy away from that in general. But yeah, I mean, I honestly had her listed under my least favorite characters and
Oof.
like no fault of the voice actress, but like you said, I hate how it feels like they're trying to force you into picking her.
Yeah, and not only that, but at the ending, I got one of the Steam achievements. And the way it wasn't only that. I think it was like the breakdown of stuff at the end of the chapter, end of the game, where it said I quote unquote neglected her, so she turned to villainy. I'm like, okay, so
Yeah.
apparently neglected means I didn't stick it in her. So
Well, I think
um,
so the first time I played through, I I chose to romance Mandy.
same actually.
Um, but I do think you can make choices where Invisigal, like you don't like totally turn your back on her, but you're also not choosing to romance her. Like there's a certain
Mm,
point where like you can choose to like forgive her, and I think if you do that, she kind of comes back around.
okay.
Spoiler alert. But yeah, I mean, even honestly, the second playthrough, I went into it trying to be open to the idea of like focusing on romancing her because it really feels like that's what the game wants you to do.
Mhm.
But I can't bring myself to do it because she's just so like abrasive and she just feels like the stereotypical like manic pixie dream girl, like
Yeah.
just generic kind of like punky girl with an attitude who wants to fight authority at every turn. And I mean, not that there's anything wrong with fighting authority, especially these days, but
Yeah. I'll
I
drink to that.
just, the whole character feels a little too like try-hardy to me.
That's fair. That's very fair. But and from her, I kind of want to leap back to the other, like the other antagonist, potential
Yeah,
antagonist. Yeah, Shroud, who is like your character's arch nemesis, who until like the second to last chapter, I didn't even know what his powers were.
same.
like I didn't know what his motivations were other than like breaking your suit and like stealing something from it. But I
Yeah,
didn't know what he wanted it for. I didn't know like what he was planning. I didn't know he was connected to the gang that one of the prominent villain groups that you run into time and again during the course of the story. I didn't realize he had any connection to them. It's just, yeah, he felt probably the least developed out of anyone who had a name in this, I think.
yeah,
Um,
I agree.
and yeah, so it's a matter of sure the fight at the end was flashy and cool to watch, and I love how it brought everyone in to play a role. That was cool, but it's like who exactly are we fighting against?
Yeah,
And just on the subject of villainy itself, like there's a villain bar in this world, like okay, and it's known as a villain
yeah,
bar.
yeah,
why is it why does it exist? I mean, you know where all of these evil characters are going to be on a semi-regular
yeah. That's a great
basis.
question.
Like what?
Yeah,
Um,
why are they not just like, why are the heroes not just like staking that place out and taking all the villains down? Like,
yeah, yeah. Or for that matter, like when you do cut someone in chapter 3 or whatever, I mean, it's established these people are they have a criminal record and they are still seen as villains. This is like their last chance to rehabilitate them, and you just let whichever one you pick just go free on the streets, no
yeah.
ramifications, no monitoring. Like
And I
there,
think whoever you cut, they're like, you're gonna regret this. It's like,
hmm
cool. This seems
yeah,
like a great idea.
exactly. It's just there are cracks in like the world building. As much as I love a lot of these characters and
Yeah.
just the overall setup, I like there aren't even going back to what you were saying about failing the dispatches. There aren't even really any legal ramifications for like letting a kaiju rampage across the beach, potentially killing people. I mean, there's never like a risk that SDN is going to get shut down or anything. That would have
Yeah,
been
that is a very good point because I had that thought a couple times. I mean, you can like completely ignore calls and theoretically, a sports arena full of people explodes.
right.
And like you said, there are no actual ramifications like and that's I
Yeah.
mean that goes back to like my concerns about the gameplay too is
hmm
yes, if you do well in the dispatch sections, you can like theoretically level up and then you get more perks to use in those sections.
hmm
But if you fail, there really don't feel like there are any repercussions. Like you
Yeah.
just said, it's not like SDN's in trouble of getting shut down or something because they let everyone die.
Right. Like even just having a meter for that, like, to try to track the public opinion of your group, that would have
Yeah.
been something to strive for. But as it stands, I'm not even sure if there are game over situations for this. Like,
I'm very curious about that. Yeah, I don't know
yeah.
for sure, but it really doesn't feel like it. I mean, like I said before, it doesn't feel like any of the like interactive gameplay elements really have a meaningful impact on the outcome of anything.
Yeah. And for all I know, there might be an achievement for just ignoring every single call for your entire playthrough. I don't know, but um, I kind of want
Now
to
I'm
find
kind of
out now.
curious. Yeah, I'm curious about that now.
But yeah, so it's a matter of it all comes back to the illusion of choice and whether or not you even have any aside from like who to romance or maybe I think there is an option not to actually go after either of them, but
Yeah.
like I don't know. There's I don't know. There are a lot of conflicting elements to this game, I think. Um, and I did mention there was going to be a bit of a spoiler for Sonar as well. Um, so if you cut him, eventually you do have a showdown with him, and he joins up with the main group of baddies, and he's like, no, it's too late for you to try and forgive me, Robbie. I've got new people who got my back now, and I quote, "Shroud lets me eat whatever I want." And one of the other members on your team says something like, "Oh, don't worry, human meat makes him sick anyway." So he's just admitted to essentially being, if not a cannibal, because I'm not sure if he's fully human, but he's admitted to eating people. And at the end, there is, I'm assuming this something similar happened when you cut Coupe. You have an option to, did you have an option to like forgive her and like welcome her back
Yeah.
to the team? You have that option with him. after he is admitted to eating people.
Yeah.
It's just like what? Is there no actual legal framework in this world? Oh, so I think I may have talked myself down on my rating on this a little
Yeah,
bit.
I think this conversation has maybe made me reconsider my rating.
Yeah, so geez. So yeah, that's I think I'm looking through my notes here. I think that's kind of all the individual elements of what the fuckery that stood out to me during the course of
Yeah.
this. Are we about ready to slap a rating on this,
I
or
think is this going to be our shortest episode ever?
I think it might. God,
Yeah,
this is
I
what
mean,
happens.
I think I'm probably ready for final thoughts. I
Okay.
honestly still don't know if I have a final rating in my mind, but
Fair enough. In that case, I can go first to give you some time.
yeah, please do.
Sure. So I the parts of Dispatch that are good are really good. Like it is genuinely funny. A lot of the characters are authentically likable. Like they feel like just people that you could sit down and have a beer with, or go to the movies with, or something, and just actually enjoy your time with them. Or in the ones that you hate, they feel legitimately hateable, I think. So it's a well-written game, except when it's not. And we just talked a bit about that, where there are holes that seem small at first, but they end up being pretty dang massive in just the world building
I bet
and
Malevolent has some massive what? Anyway,
something hymns. Um,
if
but
you have some demon holes you need to explore, reach out to our sponsor, Hims.
uh, despite its shortcomings, there are even some like genuinely emotional moments here. Like I'm not going to spoil this, but there is a pretty tense sequence with Chase at one point. At least in my
Oh
playthrough.
man.
Oh
Ah,
yeah,
that almost made me cry. God
I
damn it.
know. So yeah, like I said, when this game is good, it's really good.
Yeah.
And when it's poorly written, it's more noticeable because of that. So I had gone into this, as I said, with a higher rating than what I'm going to give it. I still, I would play this again. I haven't gone through for a second playthrough, but I enjoyed it enough. I would be happy to play this again. But I really hope if they do a sequel or an expansion or something that they work on um, expanding on some of the issues that we mentioned. Make the stakes feel more real. Make it seem like there's a consequence for failing. There is nothing wrong with having a game over screen before the end of the game if you completely screw things up. That's not something that developers should be afraid of, even in a narrative focused game.
Yeah.
Um, so that said, I had initially been leaning towards about an 8 for this, just because of how fun it was when it was fun. But I think with its flaws, I can't go higher than a 7.
All right. I mean, I feel like I overall am at a very similar place to you. Honestly, I mean, I did have some concerns with, writing and story things, but I do think my bigger concern is what is this thing? What what medium is this? I mean, I think I joked on the Fondies that this was the game I most wish was an animated series.
Mm,
And I still kind of feel that way because of what we talked about with the gameplay mechanics not feeling like they really have any effect on the story outcome.
hmm.
Um, I think if this was, if they just made this a straight animated series, with the same premise, same characters and everything, I think it would be highly enjoyable. And I mean, my struggle is, am I rating this as a video game? Am I just rating this as like an overall experience? Um,
Hmm.
if I was rating it as a video game and can like really considering the gameplay, I would probably have to score it pretty low. Um, but if I'm just taking it for what it is, and I did enjoy quite a lot of it. Um, I do actually have to knock some points off for the fact that you cannot romance Malevola. Um, so as with you, Justin, I was originally came into this with a slightly higher score in mind. But in honor of hashtag justice for Malevola, I'm going to settle on a score of 6.66.
Ah, well played. So let me do a quick bit of math here because I'm not used to being the one doing this, so I did not have the calculator at the ready. 6, and then divided by 2. So that gives that is not what that is at all. That um, apparently the built-in calculator in Windows 11 does not know order of operations. So let me just do this one piece at a time. Geez.
6.83.
Thank you. 6.83. It gave me like 10.23 for some reason. Geez. Okay. So, not, I don't think that puts it in crap category, but it's certainly not a classic, based on that.
Yeah. I will say
Um,
again, I mean, I do want to emphasize, like, obviously I enjoyed it because I am playing through it a second time.
mhm,
But as you said, I do hope that, if there is a season two, which feels fairly inevitable because I think this was pretty successful,
mhm.
I do hope that they maybe consider adding some more stakes and maybe bringing in a more compelling villain.
Yes, definitely. Um, and I mean, yeah, because at this point, this one served as a fine setup. The world from this point onward could use more depth, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Um, so, but yeah, if they do a sequel, I will certainly play it. If they branch out into other media, like a TV show or like a board game or a tabletop game or something, that could also be a lot of fun.
Malevola dating sim. I mean, what?
Stranger things have happened. I
Give
mean,
us that
there's
DLC.
oh, that one costs like more than the base game.
I mean,
Uh,
shut up and take my money.
well, on that note, I think we've said about all there is to say here, folks. This has been another episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing, and hope you've had fun. If you haven't played the game, consider checking it out. So until next time, bye.
Bye.